This panel is Wakanda Occasionally, POC in the MCU. First off, just to introduce us, we are The Defended. We are a podcast that is part of the Gifted Sounds Network. We're available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all over the internet.
Bar mitzvahs, funerals, breakups.
Yeah. So my name is Rich. I'm one of the co-hosts. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Caramel Thunder. I only strip on Mondays. No, I'm Lance. One of the other co-hosts.
What's up? I'm Candace, also a host.
And I'm Terrence, and I'm just around sometimes.
You're around more than I am, so if you ever listen to this podcast, you'll know that I have a lot of
You're
life
still
shit,
in the infinity dust. Actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm in infinity dust. I was poofed out. So first off, is everyone in here familiar with the MCU, the Marvel movies, TV shows, Netflix shows, right? Okay, all right, good. So that's where we're going to be using, what we're going to be using as our jumping off point, because we are a Marvel-based show. Everything that we talk about is based around all those Marvel movies and TV shows and web series and stuff like that. So what we wanted to do was talk a little bit about how they've been doing with representing people like us, because most of these movies involve white men jumping around doing cool shit that we would like to do too, except for Black Panther. So I guess the first question is, down the line, each and every one of you, do you feel represented in the MCU?
Well, I guess I go. I'm right next to you. I'm West Indian born. Well, I came here when I was like 14, so I guess the most recent representation of that is Luke Cage season 2, and the terrible
So
I'm
bad.
sure they did their best.
They did their best.
I'm sure they did their best.
What you talking about? I thought that was a lovely example of a Jamaican accent.
A lot of Jamaicans featured in this one. I believe I heard some Grenadian accents as well that were try to pass off as Jamaican, which is weird, but it is what it is. I would say this. I would give them this. If you are West Indian and you know Jamaicans, and if they speak the straight up patois, that's from that. You're probably if they. I don't know of any Jamaican actor that would actually speak it verbatim on television in America, and people be like, huh? Because people had a hard time even understanding Rihanna's work. So it's like, I would give them a little bit of, okay, they had to make it audible in some way. So it's like, but most of them was just really bad, and then the stupid little jokes that they had here and there, which is kind of like,
Jamaican me crazy.
Yeah, that was, especially when Missy Knight was like, what did she say to Luke? It was like, everything RE or something. I don't remember. Everything RE.
So you feel that they used Jamaican culture more as a punchline throughout this season then?
It felt that way. I mean, but there were also punchlines for Misty Knight's arm, like the whole thing about you need a hand.
The whole season.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Ableist, racist. Luke Cage is batting 100 right now. They're killing it.
There was like a lot of those kind of like they try to balance out the insensitiveness, I guess. But even when they were like, what was it, the Rum Punch Massacre?
I was very angry. Karen Page decided to label.
That was like
Karen Page wrote that.
I was like, really? That's what we do? Okay. So the representation was just off in many ways. Even like the biggest one to me was the two little kids, very young, that you would find two little kids in Brooklyn that still have that thick ass accent. It's like, bro, that age, the likelihood of you finding them kids like that.
Oh, you're talking about the two kids?
Cage.
No, Cage.
That's so unlikely. It's ridiculous. It was,
Very
that's so
unlikely.
unlikely. It was just like, oh, okay. I guess we're now in Bumbleclot land or whatever. It was like, that's how I like. It was like, what are we doing? It's like, no, that's not. But yeah, right now I feel like the representation is just. I don't even have a level or a rating for it. It's just kind of like, I'm just sitting there with my mouth open like, wow, I guess this is where we at. And I just want to slap one of the writers maybe. I don't know, but that's about it. That's just how I felt about it.
Candace, what about you? Do you feel represented by any character at all throughout the entirety of the MCU?
Well, for me, it's been like a slippery slope to happiness for Marvel because I've mostly been very disengaged for the reason, like you said, a bunch of white guys running around. And as far as superheroes go, they weren't my favorite white guys. And so I was just sort of like less enthusiastic, unlike my sister. And Jessica Jones was probably like the first real interest I really took in like, okay, here's some serious content that I can relate to as a woman. And then, basically Thor and Black Panther. But on the one hand, I feel like here are some women of color, they're kicking ass. But in the case of both Valkyrie and Okoye, who's kind of a mixture of characters, and Ayo, I was looking forward to queer representation as those characters are supposed to be bisexual, and it didn't happen. And it's a various number of reasons. We know that Tessa fought for representation for Valkyrie, and wherever those scenes are, they're somewhere, not on the DVD. Same thing is the case for Ayo. Yeah, not on the DVD either. And so it's kind of like, because those things were talked about prior to the characters launching. And so to not see it be a part of it dampens my excitement a little bit. And so I'm still waiting for Marvel to take that leap, not on television, as they did in The Runaways, finally, this past season, where DC has been a little bit faster with that on television, at least, with Supergirl and... Was it League of Legends? And they have
League of Legends.
Yeah,
Legends
they have like two.
yeah.
She
Legends
was sleeping
tomorrow.
with people in different universes.
Just crossing things. And so I think they can be better. And so I'm finally like really excited and like, I've never been a huge cosplayer, things like that, and I find myself now gravitating towards these characters. And it's really fun and exciting for me. And I feel like I can be like everyone else because I was a big X-Men fan, and it's just been like a dark history for the past 15 years of like seeing a Storm and the X-Men in movies.
The X-Men movies have been pretty hit or miss.
Yeah, they're hit or miss. And so just for me personally, the person I'm checking for, I'm very excited for Valkyrie. I hope she appears in Avengers 4. Because she excites me, and same for Okoye and Ayo and the rest of the Dora Milaje and anyone else. I mean, because I definitely wasn't checking for Black Widow, still not.
Is anyone quick show of hands? Is anyone excited for the solo Black Widow movie? That's what I thought. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Nobody.
Let the record show.
Nobody asked for that film.
Tough for
No one is
Black
asking
Widow
for it.
fans.
Did anyone ask for that? Does anyone know
No one asked.
how this is fucking happening?
Well, she recently said no to playing trans man.
Well, whatever.
I feel like Brie Larson.
Good for her. Too late.
Brie
little
gave her
too
a
little
call.
too late.
She got a phone call.
Yeah,
like,
the
yo,
Marvel executives were like,
she's like,
bitch.
listen, you want this movie to happen?
Yeah.
We trying to repeat Ghost in the Shell. What we trying to do? It's like,
Do you want to be the next J-Law? I mean, do you?
Terrence, what about you? Do you feel represented?
I'm going to have to say a hard no, but it's okay because I see that some efforts are being, or at least trying to be made, where sort of like how I've shared sentiments with how season 2 Luke Cage, it's like, I'm looking at a lot of things, but whose audience it was this shot in this way for? I don't know what we're trying to relate to. That's part of a big issue of a lot of the content where things are supposed to be inclusive sort of really fall short, whether it's from the explanation point or from the person ostracizing whatever they're looking at, especially someone off screen like a Karen Page who can call something, that attack that happened in Brooklyn, the Rum Punch Massacre, and she wasn't even there. But that's going to be like the buzz line that's there for the press for the police department is like, how do you then all of a sudden be omniscient and then gain control over the narrative, and it had nothing to do with you. So it's a lot of intangible people with too much strength getting to do all of these things with scenarios and people, and I don't like the external or third person feeling of a powerlessness for something I could have tried to feel sympathy for, because it was almost like it was a big joke. You get me? It's like, well, I wasn't the victim, but I mean, we gotta shake the table a little bit, get the people talking, and the way the term savages was used throughout the season as well, how they're trying to say, we have to fit into this cutout and be respectable, and hopefully ICE won't bother us and deport us and things of that nature. It's we can't win with being forced into those kinds of boxes. So even seeing that, then yes, those hit home, but as far as me rooting for someone, I mean, Bushmaster did what he had to do, and I respected it. I'm not going to say that he represents how I would handle things, even if I am an anarchist of sorts. You know, maybe Piranha. I don't know. He might represent me somewhat.
I think one common theme that has happened a lot throughout the most recent MCU entries is that the villains might be someone you could understand what their point of view is. You just don't understand why they're responding to that point of view the way that they are. For instance, you could understand why Killmonger is so angry and why he wants to do the things that he wants to do. You don't understand why he's doing that, though, when there's a much better way. Hashtag Nakia was right. But we clearly see that time and time again that there's a villain's like, okay, yeah, I get why you're mad, but now it comes the time to say, like, well, what do we do with that anger? And then you kind of see that reflected in the heroes as well. They're like, shit, I'm in the same moral quandary. What do I do?
Yeah.
I'll say for me personally, as a Hispanic male, that the only person that there's only 3 Hispanic characters I can think of off the top of my head, and that's the character that Michael Pena plays in Ant-Man, who is clearly a Mexican character, but culturally you don't really get that from him. Then there's the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. And he's kind of like in and out. He's very much like a ghost in the most literal sense. He's just like, he's there for a couple episodes and he's like, and I'm gone. And so I really don't get to resonate with him as much. And then the one that, unfortunately, because he's a villain, the one that that resonates with me the most is Shades from Luke Cage. And it's like, oh, another Puerto Rican man. Hey, oh no, he's killing people. Maybe that's not great. Yeah, well,
I was actually going to bring her up because she's supposed to be Afro-Cuban, which is directly like my background, and I actually feel like they do a shit-tastic job of handling her cultural awareness. Like, for one, and this was something simple I'd been looking for, it was just like food, and that like in Black culture and the various aspects of the diaspora, like food is a big thing, and certainly for Latinos, and I was just shocked that not one of those times did she even cook a dry platino for her man. She didn't even make a sandwich. I was like, really, bitch?
You don't got no rice?
Not rice and beans. Not even rice and beans.
He's a big dude, man.
Not even
it's
eggs.
Like, come on. She never once says, baby, you hungry?
She was too busy
you ate
making
today?
cream.
Like, that's usually what I get that from my aunties and stuff.
And their
like
weird
that, you know?
racism, colorism argument was strange, and it felt strange because they're supposed to be dating for several months, and yet this is the first time they're talking about Luke's problems being a black man in Harlem with the cops. Come on, man. And so I felt like obviously a lot of white writers behind that, and if there were some black writers in the room, they definitely did not have the appropriate background to add some real meat and authenticity to what she was saying to Luke about her family, and the fact that that's when she brought it up. She's like, hey, I'm Cuban, I'm this, and my family has problems, and that was it. And I was like, what? What is that supposed to mean?
What does that have to do with me being black man in America?
What does that have to do with the cops? Right?
So what do you attribute problems like that to then? Is it a writer's room thing? Is it maybe actors not being vocal enough about how things should be? Because I would assume that Rosario Dawson is smart enough to say, maybe this is not the right way this would happen.
She is, but isn't she also Dominican? And so I don't know that, I mean, because it does change, like what Lance was saying, from island to island, like cultural things can shift. And so I don't know that maybe she is the best person to source, because not every actor is a good person to source for information. Mm-hmm. But then, there's also like the power structure in the writer's room. So you can make a suggestion, but they're always open not to take your suggestions, which was something that I thought was cool about How to Get Away with Murder. I don't know if anyone watched that show, but there was a scene maybe in the first or second season where Michaela like slaps an elder black woman character. She didn't slap her, but that was written in the scene. And at a Paley Fest, they talked about it, and she said she went to the writer and she was like, hey, there's no way that I can slap this older black woman and just like get away with it. If I do successfully slap her, she has to knock me off the table or just do something else to like win. And so they had it where she like catches her hand and she doesn't get the slap. And so that was something where the white writer listened and was like, okay, this is an aspect of black culture that is appropriate. Let me add it. And so I'm just not confident that every white writer actually feels like they have a missing section. Like they're like, no, I read this book, I saw this documentary, I can totally write it. Yeah. And it doesn't always come out authentic, of course.
Like, who are you? I'm writing for Luke Cage. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
So let's talk about Black Panther then and its success. When we were talking at the beginning, asking you guys about do you feel represented, nobody really except Candace, you're the only person that mentioned Black Panther. Even though Black Panther was a huge success and it was good to see representation, even then it's a very specific type of Black representation. So what do you feel they did right, and what do you feel needs to happen now in the coming movies to maybe expand on that?
Oh, is that hard and fast to me? Straight?
No, to everyone. Is that too difficult of a question? Are we getting too heavy?
No. I was still marinating.
No, it's for everyone.
You know, we get to see, overshots of some certain aspects of the city. We can kind of see what these people are doing. I want to know what these people are doing. I want to know people are together not just because someone said my love. Like, can there be a demonstration of said love in some way? Maybe they don't do that here. Like that meme says. Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I guess we saw what constitute Wakanda trash in the form of Wakabi. I mean, did he ever get put on punishment?
Character?
Did he ever get put on punishment for going against the tribe rising up?
We didn't really see it.
We didn't see it.
He picked the wrong side in Get Out, and he picked the wrong side in Black Panther. He's just constantly picking the wrong person to side with.
But isn't it amazing to know that pretty much across the diaspora we all know he's in the doghouse, but why don't we get to see it? If we all know it's coming, he better be raking up rhino crap, something, just anything.
Something like what's this punishment?
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
I dig you. I dig what Terrence is saying. It's like I'm super interested in the Wakandan society as a whole. Yeah, there's Black Panther and all that great stuff that's happening, but what about the regular people? I want to know how their schools function. Is there some different types of? I know they have different types of religions, but I want to see if is there like a fourth one coming up? Like what's going on? What are their social structures? I was making jokes earlier. I said I want to see a different world in Wakanda. I want to see a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I want to see all of that. I want to see if there's like art. Even though this society is so rich, is everybody rich? Is there like a disparity between the kings and queens or whoever the elders are versus the regular dude who's just not born into that that bloodline of anything?
Well, I'm sorry to jump before you get to even speak, but remember we were talking about Jabari integration. Since now they are sitting at the table, will they be open to learning technology? Will we get to see some of the mishaps of trying to, fire something because it's sensitive equipment that gets broken? And then we were talking about maybe representation in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. Yeah.
I think right now Wakanda and the rest of the world is in a little bit of disrepair. So I don't think they could be thinking about the
Wakanda's
Olympics right now when everybody's been disappeared out of existence. But Candace, what do you think about?
All that stuff that was said about Wakanda is true. But for me, like first on the list is always going to be the Doors. Obviously, I want to know everything there is to know about the Doors. I could take an origin film for Okoye. I could take an origin film for any single one of them. And at any point in history, I just want to know what the training process is.
Yes, the selection.
The selection, like the inner potential fights to be like, who's the best Dora? Like how, Okoye's rise to being literally the best warrior in Wakanda.
Yeah.
I would love to see, just like side note, non-Marvel related, but when you put me onto Krypton, and that actress who was there and she was going toe-to-toe with like huge male characters, and I love that. And so I would love to see that, something like that displayed with the Dora warriors, because they are the best, and there are, guy warriors in Wakanda, and I just want to see like some shit go down.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And a plot, of course, a plot.
Oh, okay. It was interesting to know that they say that the Doras are the best by far of all the warriors in Wakanda, and yet when they were going up against the shepherding tribe, I can't remember the name of their tribe.
Border tribe.
The Border Tribe.
Yes, the Border Tribe. That they were just barely hanging during that fight scene, during the big fight scene at the end of Black Panther. It's like, if you guys are supposed to be the best, why aren't you already just destroying everyone? And I think they really did them a disservice in the writing of that scene. I get it, because you have to like have a plot and it needs to be interesting, so it has to be some back and forth.
They gave the extra badassery to Black Widow for fighting the Black Order in Infinity War, because she definitely should not have been able to hang like that.
Yeah. And that's always been an issue with just when it comes to action, when women are involved, black, white, doesn't matter, they softened it. it's never hard hitting as I think a couple years back, Haywire, when what's her name, the mixed martial arts,
Gina Carano.
When she was doing that,
I know my fight stuff.
I can't remember a time before that I've seen such hard hitting fights of a woman doing that sort of thing. Yeah, we had the Matrix and everything, but even that was kind of like, let's pull your punches a little bit.
Yeah, look up Nikita for sure.
Right, for sure. That was
for
like,
sure.
you know, and it's just that it's so far and few in between.
Yeah, they're spread
And-
apart. Because then it would be like Alias, you know, and that's Jennifer Garner, beginning of her career.
Yeah, exactly.
Way beginning of her career.
And even like there is a part of the Dora Milaje that they didn't talk about in the movie, which is their Black Ops. Those
Right.
ladies are, if you've read the books and stuff like that, they're wet works. They're like, we're gonna kill some shit. That's who they are. Like, you know, she's definitely top, but she trained them.
Right.
But they don't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? But like that, I would love to see as well, and I would love to see something just as hard hitting like Atomic Blonde. Like when
Yeah, for sure.
Charlize Theron's doing her thing and whatnot. Like I want to see that because everybody, it's like I feel like Hollywood is too afraid. It's too afraid to hit women. Like it's like, well, they're trained assassins. They've been trained to kill. I should expect, like, you know what I mean? It should get rough because this is the job that you are in, what you're trained for and stuff like that. So get rough, get nasty and stuff like that. And it's
Well, unfortunately, not every actor will sign the check and then simultaneously go to the gym and bulk up,
Well,
which
we
makes
got
some
Danny Rand.
visuals hard to believe. Like, I'm not going to look at someone, not see muscle definition, and then just expect them to be able to withstand all
You talking
these.
about Danny Rand?
I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
We have a lot of Iron Fist hate.
What are you talking about?
Ignore my costume, but we do hate Iron Fist. We hate the Netflix Iron Fist. I should. Be,
you got your hand up?
Yeah, and like, well, because it's kind of like what you're saying pushes against the concept of violence against women, where
True, yes.
you see this a lot. It's a common trope, and so then the other side of this is, well, why is she getting beat up? And then the guys, you don't even really see that brutality against guys. Like you conceptualize they're hard hitting because there's two bigger people, but that doesn't mean that the blow isn't just as devastating if I hit your nerve or your joint. What it seems like in Marvel is Black Widow is very like precise, and that's her strength, and so that's a different type of strength than just coming blow to blow and punching. So
Absolutely.
I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying,
That's true.
But
No, it's yeah, I completely
it's a
understand.
different concept of like.
Yeah, it can be.
It's a totally different like cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It can be
there's-
very contradictory. I get what you're saying. It's a little contradictory. It's like, how do you balance that? How do you showcase that? And that's mostly, for me, it's editing, really. Because you can make a hit sound and look like it's really brutal when it really isn't. But it's like, but like I said, it's like, I'm a big film buff, and I've always seen it. It always bothered me, because I'm supposed to believe, what was Homegirls, Colombiana, whatever? Like, I'm supposed to believe she's like
yeah.
a stick figure going around taking out dudes who's like 300 pounds. I'm like, I'm not, I don't believe this. I don't believe anything that's happening and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because it's still a movie, and I kind of, it's like an escape, you know, and I kind of want to see that. But I hear what you're saying. It's like, they probably are afraid because, you know, violence against women is a real thing, and how do you balance that?
Yeah,
It
we
is
really
a real
don't-
thing, but I think they could switch it up because, like, what you're saying about body size, like, for sure, if a woman is smaller in size, like, she should have some blades so that when those hands come out, she's slicing and dicing, a la Villanelle and Killing Eve. And so I
Right.
think that
Oh, yeah.
we
It's
need to
like-
have some shifts about how, like, the fighting styles we use, and that I feel like, first of all, most of the fighting styles used are way too similar. Like, no one has a unique fighting style unless you actually have a choreographer that's really working on a stylistic thing. And so I would actually like to see more emphasis going on the individual fighting style of the superheroes, and then just making it more nuanced than I'm hitting, I'm kicking, but here are some cool weapons, here's some cool.
As far as the fight choreography, that's something that Black Panther did really well, and that
Right.
in those those waterfall challenge day scenes, they really did have some very interesting fighting styles. I remember, I've talked about this millions of times with you, that as somebody that's trained martial arts for my whole entire life, is at one point when he's fighting M'Baku and he gets him in a reverse triangle armbar, and I yelled up, "Jiu-jitsu!" in the movie theater and looked like an ass. But outside of that too, throughout the movie, there was a lot of other fighting. Of course, when he takes the heart shape herb, then it's like more stylized and, like flipping and off the, off the wall stuff.
That's like when we were looking for the machetes in Luke Cage, and we were talking about
if
you're talking about Caribbean culture fighting, especially with all the
there.
mention of the Maroons and the nannies. Like, where are the machetes?
Yeah.
Well, one other thing though, I think the only female tank that we have right now in the MCU is Valkyrie. She's the only person that's like, I'll take 3 punches to give one. She's the only person that we have like that. And I think more characters that are like that are female, would kind of start changing that idea of, oh no, women can't fight, women can't be in these sort of things.
But we don't really have any supers yet in the MCU.
I know that has to change. Maybe somebody, if we eventually get a She-Hulk movie or She-Hulk in like
Williams. Sorry,
Terrence has been campaigning hard for Serena Williams to be She-Hulk.
I second it.
I'm just why not? Why is this already happening?
She could just take the role. Nobody's gonna stop her. She basically is She-Hulk.
Just follow her around every day.
But I mean,
CGI degree.
as someone that watches mixed martial arts and watches a lot of the male and female fights, I know that there's people that are out there that can fulfill these roles, that can play these roles. It's just whether they want to or not. And luckily, we're seeing a lot of people that are transitioning from professional combat sports to acting now. So we'll see more Gina Carano's, more Ronda Rousey's, more Kat Zingano's, more of these people that can actually throw hands and take a punch and make it look convincing, make it look good, and then overcome and beat the shit out of some dudes.
We need like a new generation Wesley Snipes, a competent actor with black belts.
That absolutely needs to happen.
That would be awesome.
Does anyone else in the audience have any questions or comments or anything? Really?
Have you not seen Cloak and Dagger?
Yes.
Oh, Save the Last Dance.
Oh, actually, I feel like that's the one show in the Marvel comic universe that I can actually identify with. So I'm a history teacher, and I feel like there are several nuances of post-Katrina, police brutality, parallel to like all this Christian iconography, like with being in the church. Like I just think that there's so much story. I mean, it's free form. It's free on the go.
Yeah.
Play on that like love each other aspect, but I think that they have done a great job of like showing those nuances. And of course, it's because Gina Prince-Bythewood is on that team. But I feel like Luke Cage has done the same thing in that second season. And when confronted about like the surface level culture of Bushmaster and the Maroons, when I heard it, I was like, oh my god, they literally Wikipedia this.
They Wikipedia'd it. That is
so I was like, very insulted.
Right.
And so I was watching it, and I'm like, they could have done the same thing, but when asked about it, I don't remember if he was the producer or the director, but he said, the quote was, there are not a lot of shows that reflect Caribbean Americans or Caribbeans in general, and they should be grateful. And I was like, wow.
What the fuck? Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
So
let me bring it back down.
That comment is trash. That comment is trash.
Wait a minute.
I'm also talking while trying to calm down. Literally. All right.
What?
So I'm physically here, and aside from the character Russell from Living Single, I don't know if anybody intentionally was written to be Caribbean that had
We don't
influence
exist
of
in
their background
media. We don't.
showcased in their
Unless
character.
they're a punchline. Unless you get like Hermes from Futurama, something like that.
Kendra, Vampire Slayer. Remember how she said it when she first appeared on Buffy?
She's still working and she's still pretty.
Usually the Caribbean
And I love that
characters use that as
character,
a joke.
but I hated that accent.
Yeah,
I love the representation.
Yeah, in many ways, I agree with you. It's definitely, like you said, Rich, it's a joke. It's even, like I said, all through Luke Cage, a lot of
I'm
stupid
sorry,
little
who
jokes.
did you say said that? Who made that
Was
comment?
that the showrunner?
The producer or the director? It was somebody that like I remember it was an article. There was a
But it was
comment
someone
from
on-
Bushmaster, the actor himself, and said, "Oh, we spoke to a few Jamaican. It said my Jamaican friends," and I was like, "Oh my god."
Already that sounds trashy.
Which one?
That sounds trashy.
And the director or the producer, I'm not sure which one, made the comment about like they should be grateful. I was like, wow.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see for someone to give a shit about the diaspora accents and dialects the way they do about British accents. Because if someone went up and was doing a movie and their British accent was obviously wrong, they wouldn't be taken seriously at all. Period. Out the gate. But the fact that people are just like, be grateful that we made an attempt, as horrible as it is, that's insulting.
Well, we all know why that's the case, though, too. So there's no mystery why they would care about these white accents a little bit more.
Oh, no, there's no mystery. I'm just saying I would like to see, hopefully,
of course,
in the future.
I do want to point out, though, that the positive of what you said is Cloak and Dagger. I do think that considering that they are a freeform show and they are catering to this younger audience, they do a very good job of showing what this community is like.
Right.
Granted, I know Terrence in particular has had some gripes about black representation in the show, but I think a lot of it has to do with you're dealing with like upper crusty people, like you're dealing with people that are rich. And so it makes sense that it would be segregated, that there wouldn't be that many black people in this sort of community.
It's just like the same thing we saw in Runaways,
expand.
though. We were like, is there no other black people in that whole town of Runaways?
Absolutely, too.
Besides the one black
Has anyone
family?
else in here seen
They have
the
no
Runaways?
black friends.
Yeah.
Runaways, yeah. So
It gets better. It does get better, but
No more black stuff.
specifically for its representation of like queer teenagers and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it does a pretty good job of talking to kids that are dealing with changing sexuality or identifying what their sexuality is.
Coming of age, coming into your powers, hand in hand.
Yes, it's a very loose outlook. Very like, okay, I get it. I understand. You're
Right.
getting older and you're also maturing into powers, and that's a reflection of that. Whatever.
And you can't forget it's the most diverse Marvel show because they keep running that ad every time
Right.
you watch that show.
Yes.
Every commercial.
Every
We're in LA.
commercial.
Look up all the diverse people on our cast. We go on walks together. I'm like, okay, we get it. Fine. This is like,
Yeah. No, it is a very diverse cast, and I think they should be applauded for that. However, there's still more work to be done.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, a real quick show of hands. Just, do you guys feel represented by the MCU, or just any of these superhero shows in general? Kind of, not no.
I kind of liked Kid Flash, but that's not Marvel.
Yes.
I'm Trinidadian American, parents from Trinidad.
Hey.
Oh, represent.
But I don't feel like there's proper representation. And like I'm also an engineering major, mechanical concentration
Oh,
physics.
okay.
And I feel like, for example, Black Panther. He supposedly graduated in comic books from Oxford, physics major, PhD. Killmonger, electrical engineer. PhD,
MIT, right.
They never show that in films.
Right.
No, yeah.
Then they reworked this character in a way where, yes, he did go into the military. He became part of the SEALs X, Y, and Z. One of the white characters stated, "Oh yeah, he usually does this to destabilize the region." I was just like,
yes.
that wasn't the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just to make him look evil. So
Right.
I feel there's proper representation, even with Miles Morales. 'Cause that's like my favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
They took Miles Morales' storyline, everything, and made it with Spider-Man: Homecoming, and just changed
Give it to Peter.
Yeah.
So I don't feel there's proper. Of course, it's approaching proper representation of the whole diaspora, but to say we're like past 50%,
No way.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
so
Definitely.
there isn't like I don't have per se a Trinidadian superhero at all. Haven't seen one yet. Still waiting. And even in regards to like the educational academia, they don't present it correctly. So
Right.
I feel like it's getting close, but not how I want it to be.
What would you say is the closest representation to someone that is educationally accomplished that also has that portrayed on the screen?
Killmonger. He's the closest. He was able to easily understand the technology. He recreated it. Or he knew what Wakanda was. He was manipulative in understanding the enemy, adapted to it. That's a Machiavellian idea. Know your enemy, therefore you'll be able to establish thyself. Things such as that. He was the closest, but the last 30 minutes, they were like, it was just make him evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yo,
exactly
kill
right.
this
yeah.
clown.
That's right. All his strategy went out the window. He had no more strategy. And I just want to point out, like what he was saying about other black characters. That's the same again with Runaways that we were arguing about. That he's supposed to be some super genius,
Oh,
and he didn't even know how to deal with a broken hard